Hello everyone, welcome to a Friday live stream. This time I'm positively 100% sure it is Friday, not like last time when I thought Wednesday was Thursday and Thursday was Friday. Honestly, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's Friday. So, we have a lot to discuss. Right, we have a lot to discuss. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. My throat hurts because I was talking a lot, so let's hurt my throat even more. Let's make it pain until my voice box shrinks, okay? So, what's on the agenda for today? Well, what the heck did I do? Okay, so what can we talk about? Well, we can talk about a lot of things, but I just made a couple of YouTube posts. YouTube posts. Where is it? Here we go. I just made a handful of posts. I scheduled some of them. So yeah, let me just check how they're doing because I really need to know if they're doing okay. This is gonna take forever. I do apologize. Sometimes things load so slow when I'm live streaming. Okay, let me check my community tab. I really like how neat they made this. I really like it. They sorted everything out because I did not like looking at the previous page because everything is on it. No, there's no organization. Everything is just all over the place. You know. Now we have the live stream separately, the shorts separately. That's amazing. So this did not get any likes yet, but this got 2 likes. This got 1 like. Okay, that's it's doing well. It's doing well so far. All right. So alright then, what do we have over here? Atlas. I have never heard of the company until now, so I'm assuming it's possibly a woke company. Or I don't even know. Atlas. Maybe it's some kind of travel agency. I don't really know. I do not know. I ain't paying for a checkmark, so y'all are just going to have to solve that one tell lies. Uh, the other tells a trick riddle every time us or Atlas West post. That doesn't make any sense because if you're a company, you should not be doing this. It's the worst thing ever. You can tell the person behind the account is just so bitter. I'm not even joking. You can tell the person behind the account is so angry. You know? It's like, my goodness, if you're a brand, then be a brand. You know? Pay the $8 if you want the checkmark. Stop protesting like this. You're just gonna come off as evil. So we have this book, Dr. Seuss. I love the designs for Dr. Seuss. I love it. When I was a kid, I read this Dr. Seuss book. Amazing. The art style was fantastic. Look at this. I love the drawings. So adorable. So adorable. Okay. Then quickly, Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very, I can't even read it because I'm zooming in. I have to literally click the thing to read it. Oh my goodness. You know they try to get rid of Dr. Seuss. You know. Let me read it. I need to check the image properly. It's so hard to read when you zoom in and it's not clear. Okay, here we go. And he said, "You want stars like a starbelly snitch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each." Just pay me your money and I'll write a bond. Oh my goodness. This is literally Twitter. Basically, you're paying $8 and you're getting a check marks. You're getting the stars. You want stars like a starbelly snitch. That's what's happening, basically. We are paying for something that most people can't even get. There are people on Twitter with a lot of following and they don't have a check mark. That's how crazy it is. Just pay me your money and hop right aboard. So they climbed inside. Big machine roared and it clunked. Then the big machine roared and clunked and it clunked and it bumped and it jumped and it bugged and it bopped them out. But the thing really, I can't even read, I'm sorry. But the thing really worked. When the plain belly sneakers popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon theirs. It's true, but the villain of the story was never the guy selling the stars and star removals, it was the snitches themselves. Yeah, okay. You know, it's very similar to what's going on because let's face it, regular people want to be recognized on social media platforms, and when you can't do that, that's impossible. That's going to be very impossible to have a good time. Remember, they mocked you for wanting to have a Twitter alternative. They laughed at us when we made a Twitter alternative. They even infiltrated these social media sites and they started spamming all this disgusting stuff. Dare we even have an inch of success on Twitter? That's offensive for them. Now they're leaving and they're leaving in droves. They're leaving to this website called Tribal Social. It is a woke social media app. They can have it. I'm fine with them having their own platform. If they want their own space, I'm fine with that. Just like how I'm fine with the right to wanting their own space. Because, once again, not everything needs to be for everyone, and I understand that. Okay. So it's time to read this article which I found this morning. It's basically about Final Fantasy 16 having no brown people. And for some reason, this is the end of the world. You know, you aren't allowed to make what you want. You only have to bow to these SJWs. I want to be very honest with you. I'm doing a response, so this is not some kind of strange attack. This is just a response to the article. That's all I'm telling you. It's just a response. So, the person who wrote this published a piece on the producer who said something about diversity. He basically was asked a question on IGN about diversity and he basically gave a good response. I think a better response would be to just F off. Just tell them to F off because they're obsessed with diversity. But obviously, some people aren't going to do that. Some people aren't going to be that blunt. Uh, so, okay. And I'm surprised because this is a game from Square Enix. They're a woke company now. So I'm surprised they have so much of white characters. So let's read it. Okay. I had one hell of a weekend after I published my piece of Final Fantasy producer Yoshida's misguided comments about the next game's overwhelming whiteness. The fans completely lost their minds. Sure, I saw the usual slurs and petty insults. I bet you $5 that she barely saw the slurs. She did not see any slurs. But then again, I can't assume that. But those weren't the comments that stuck to my brain. What bothered me were the seemingly well-meaning people who told me that Japanese creators could not possibly understand racial differences, or that we should not expect East Asian developers to be empathetic about representation of black and brown people. Here's the thing. I want to be very honest with you. As someone brown, I could give no fucks. Oh, what's going on? Okay, I have to move to my bed because it keeps leaping with the stream. It keeps going back and forth. I don't want that. I want it to have a proper smooth stream. So we're just gonna do this. Okay, I'm gonna move to my bed right now. Okay, here I am. Here I am. So we'll read the article. As I was saying, it doesn't matter because characters can still be represented with different ideas. You know, people can relate to different types of people, not because of their skin, but because of their character. I mean, I can't believe I have to say this. I rolled my eyes so hard, and I ended up writing a blog about it. Ugh, guys, could you imagine the stress this person went through to write a blog about people telling other people to just calm the f down because oh my goodness, it's just so ridiculous because other countries can make games however they want to. So if you're from a different country, you don't have to listen to the same Western diversity trope. When I was writing, I can't even read sometimes. When I write about wanting Japanese games to be less socially embarrassing, there's almost always a backlash. You know why? Because your words are coming from a place of hatred, not from a place of love. You know, it's okay to criticize a game, but the way you criticize certain games, it's because it does not fit your politics. People accuse me of projecting Western ideas onto an Asian country. That's true. Very true. Very, very true. People accuse me of projecting. I read that. But Japanese pop culture is already engaging with the theme of real life racism. One of the main characters in the manga Bleach is a Mexican Japanese boy who was bullied for being different. Um, then we have some other examples. And here's the thing. Those are just a couple of things. It doesn't mean everything needs to talk about race. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do people understand that? Just because one piece of media tackles it does not mean every piece of media needs to tackle it. That is very silly, you know? It does not make sense just because you have a couple of shows that may tackle couple of shows, couple of manga, couple of entertainment that tackle those things doesn't mean everything needs to tackle those things. I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous. Not everything needs to be some kind of tackling, some kind of social commentary. No. Moving on. And even the developers of Final Fantasy XVI are extremely sensitive to racial and cultural differences outside of Japan. For example, the developers have deliberately chosen to only use European actors for their English dub. They've also opted to have those actors to use very posh British accents, which only a very small percentage of British population actually have. What I heard was that they're using Old English And they want to sound very authentic to the theme. You know, they want to sound very authentic. They really want to sound authentic. It's a medieval game. They want to make it seem at least close to that. A massive publisher like Square Enix is fully capable of utilizing non-Japanese talent to improve cultural accuracy. That's what they're doing with Final Fantasy 16. They're basing it off something that's different from Japanese culture. Surprise, surprise, that's diversity. It has simply chosen not to dedicate resources to making some of the characters a race other than white European. So I am once again asking weird nerds not to pretend that Square Enix is some kind of indie developer in a guy's basement. Now here's the thing. I mentioned this previously, Square Enix is a world company. You know for a fact they would apologize to this in the forthcoming weeks. I would be surprised if they don't apologize for this. It's oh my goodness, I'm spitting everywhere. I'm sorry, I keep spitting everywhere. I'm such a slop sometimes. Okay. It is a multinational corporation that wants to sell copies of the game to a gaming audience that includes black and brown people. Guess what? Guess what? I have enjoyed media that has mostly white characters in it. I'm not joking. I played Final Fantasy 15. The main cast, 4 whites. I enjoyed the game. Well, certain parts of it I enjoyed, but still, I played it. It's sold throughout the world. What's the problem? And I wasn't simply criticizing some newcomer to Japanese game development. Yoshida is the lead creative producer on one of the most globally famous video game franchises of all time. It's his job to keep up with popular media and cultural trends. No, that is a big fat lie. It's such a stupid thing to say. It's not his job to be focusing on cultural trends. They're making something that they want to make, not something to be trendy. Oh my goodness. Racial diversity is definitely one of them. Hollywood is slowly finding out that more equitable casting leads to better box office performance. That's a lie. That's a lie. The New York Times says that Hollywood loses $10 billion a year by dragging their feet on diversity. What do you mean by that? Do you mean not doing diversity? Because you need to understand that all these woke shows are the reason why no one's purchasing tickets to the cinema. No one's buying these new streaming services because they're just full of woke crap. There were diverse leads back in the day. Those movies did great. You know why? Because they weren't mocking the audience. If we are trying to measure the artistic achievement of a prestige game, then inclusivity should be evaluated as seriously as we might consider technical elements, such as graphics, cinematography, or the responsiveness of the controls. That's ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous. That's a stupid claim. And that could actually happen. People like the journalists always try to change other people's ideas and concepts. That's not right. It's insulting to hold blockbuster Asian games to a completely different standard. I mean, this person holds other countries to different standards. You know, are you gonna complain when Africans make movies that only cast Africans? Or, what else? Like, what else can you say? Like, Chinese only casting Chinese? It's only when it comes to, like, white stuff these people get so uneasy. The backlash to demands for inclusivity is interesting when it comes from JRPG fans. I read a strong tone of defensiveness that JRPGs are fine as they are and they don't need to be held to Western standards. Yes, that's true. Every game does not need to be held to Western standards. Every piece of media does not need to be held by Western standards. You know why? Because that's censorship. That's that's just hurting creativity. And censorship did not only exist in this century or with the 1990s with cartoons being censored or anime being censored. Go back to the early part of that century. Comic books were the most attacked. Comic books were the most attacked form of media in history. I'm not even joking. They even had earrings for this. You know, they even had earrings for this. They claim that people read comic books. If children read comic books, they become delinquents. That's what was in the media back then. That was the main talking point. And you can see some of this stuff being repeated, but just mixing up the words. You know, Western standards suck. Okay, it burns creativity. As someone who grew up playing them, I get where the feeling comes from. Just a decade ago, a Canadian indie developer felt emboldened enough to publicly tell a Japanese developer at a conference that the game sucked. The crowd laughed, basically talking about this, and wow, okay. In the face of unfair criticism towards JRPGs, it can be tempting to reflexively defend the genre. I've certainly been guilty of it in the past, but it's not necessary anymore. Then they talk about Genshin Impact and all the other stuff. Final Fantasy will sell millions of copies no matter how bad representation is on launch. Yeah, I mean, most games. Guess what? God of War Ragnarok, this latest game that came out. I was just watching this one YouTuber stream it, and the game is so boring. It's so bland and terrible. People purchasing the game like crazy, giving it 10 out of 10. That game is what 10 out of 100. Okay, that game sucks. People purchased it because it has a big name on it. You know, Final Fantasy 15. People did not like Final Fantasy 15 because it lacked a lot of things. But I don't actually think the arguments that we simply can't expect Japanese devs to understand race and racism are necessary, made in good faith. The excuse of Japan is simply different seems to extend to all other forms of oppression too. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. This is what the person is trying to do. They're trying to now say we have to hold everyone to the Western standards. That's utterly ridiculous. This is colonization, for crying out loud. It's colonization. Whenever someone criticizes how women or queer people are represented in Japanese media, I see some of the aggressive rebuttal about how Japan doesn't understand feminism or alphabet people. No, they understand and they see the West, they see what's happening in the West, and they don't want to repeat what's happening in the West. If the vibes are off, I check the profile only to find out that the commenter is an American. How predictable. Of course, Americans are going to be defending the Japanese industry. Of course, because they were defending. Here's why. White conservatives are terrified. Now this is the juicy part. This is the juiciest part. My voice is starting to hurt much more. I do apologize if it keeps changing. White conservatives are terrified that they're losing hold on popular media. Now, I want to respond to this by saying that most things in the West are not run by conservatives. Most media owned by a lot of woke people. A lot of media these days in the woke sphere, you could say 90% of media is from the woke sphere. In other words, wokeness controls media. They're looking for their own utopia, a place that excludes women and minorities. Where do they get this information from? I kid you not, these people are Conspiracy theorists, that's what they are. How can you go from Square Enix to conservatives want to exclude women? Are they nuts? And I have to be honest with you. They are nuts. They refuse to believe conservative women exist. They refuse to believe that minority conservatives exist. They refuse to believe any of these things because they live in their bubble. That's how disgusting it is. For some white people, Japan is seen as an internally unchanging conformist and traditional society, where marginalized people know their place. Oh my goodness, how crazy can you get? Obviously, countries don't work like that. But gamer chuds. If you don't know what chud means, I've recently heard about this. This is some kind of word that's used on the internet. It's meant to mock people like us on the right. But gamer chuds want Japan to be a safe space from all that SJW nonsense. Yes, that's true. No, not just Japan. The entire world. Okay? Regardless of what's good for JRPGs as a genre or what actually makes good business sense. Let's read the comments. The truly baffling American desire to police other countries. Who is holding Japan to a higher standard? What are you going to do if they don't meet your standards? Do you think they fear scolding of the United States morality police? Honestly, a pretty diseased and toxic mindset you have going on there. The flip side of there's dragons and orcs, why can't there be black people? This is a made up story that doesn't represent reality. You can do whatever you want. There's dragons, orcs, why does there have to be black people? This is a made up story and doesn't represent reality. You can do whatever you want. Telling artists who they can put in their work is dangerous road. Exactly. Because this was the excuse for Rings of Power as well. They tried to make it woke and the response was, well, we have this fantasy species, why can't this race exist? Because Tolkien did not write it that way. You know, if you write a specific world that's only with one race, you're not going to expect every other race to come along, you know? And then someone says, I mean, if you create a fantasy world devoid of black people, that says a lot about your worldview, and that's ridiculous. So if I'm writing a very interesting story that takes place in Europe, it's not because I'm racist, it's because I'm writing a story that takes place in Europe. Um, it's kind of crazy to see how people just want to justify wokeness everywhere. It's insane. They try to make you the bad person. And this comment proves how stupid people are. Because, you know, I don't have to go through this comment. You can read through it and see how crazy he is. Anyways, enough about that. Anyways, I want to end off the video because my throat is hurting. Tell me your thoughts about this. Once again, not everything can be for everyone. You know, people from different races can play this game. You know, it doesn't have to always conform to everyone. You know, the way these people behave is ridiculous. Anyways, that's it for today's video.